All right, Apple just held their big September event, and you know what that means, a whole new lineup of gadgets. Today, we're going to cut through all the marketing noise and give you the essential breakdown, drawing from the fantastic in-depth analysis from the WVRM podcast.
Okay, so here's the plan. We'll start with how the event actually kicked off. Then we'll jump into the new wearables. That's the AirPods and Apple Watches. After that, it's the main event, the entire new iPhone lineup, from the base model to the totally redesigned Pro, and then a brand new, very surprising iPhone Air.
So, the event kicked off with a little something special, but only for the people who were actually in the theater.
Yeah, if you were actually there, you got a little pre-show. Tim Cook himself came out on stage and hit the crowd with this super rare triple good morning to warm everybody up before the main recorded keynote started. It's something you didn't see on the live stream at all. Pretty cool. Okay, so with that, let's get into the actual products.
First up, Apple kicked things off with wearables. We're talking solid, meaningful updates for both the AirPods Pro and the new lineup of Apple Watches. So, the new AirPods Pro 3. They've got this redesigned shape for a much tighter fit, and these new hybrid foam and silicone tips for better noise isolation. They're also IP57 water and sweat resistant, which is great. And get this, they've added a heart rate sensor right into the earbuds. To top it all off, battery life is now up to 8 hours with noise canceling on. That's a huge jump.
Now, here's where it gets interesting. Apple is out here claiming 2x better active noise cancellation. But the podcast host brought up a really smart point. Sound is measured on a logarithmic scale. So what does 2x better even mean? Well, it could just be a 3 decibel reduction. Now, don't get me wrong, you notice that, but it's maybe not the massive leap that 2x makes it sound like. Kinda makes you think, right?
Okay, shifting over to your wrist, let's break down the new watches. So, the Series 11 and the Ultra 3, they get some nice little bumps in battery and tougher glass. But honestly, the real story here is the new SE3. It's now got the exact same S10 chip as the more expensive models and an always-on display. That makes it almost as good as the flagship Series 11, but for way, way less money. That's a huge deal.
And on the software side, all the new watches, and even some older ones with an update, are getting 2 really big health features. First, hypertension detection, which can alert you to signs consistent with high blood pressure. And second, something people have wanted forever, a single sleep score from 1 to 100. Finally, an easy way to see how well you actually slept.
All right, let's get to the main event, the iPhones. And the big takeaway this year? The standard iPhone 17 is seriously closing the gap with the Pro models. This is the first year where buying the base model doesn't feel like you're making this huge compromise anymore.
And the number 1 reason for that is this. For the very first time, a non-Pro iPhone is getting ProMotion. We're talking that super smooth, 120 Hz variable refresh rate display that also enables an always-on display. This is a complete game changer for the standard iPhone.
And look, the upgrades go way beyond just the screen. They've doubled the base storage to 256 gigs. The ultra-wide camera, that's jumping up to 48 megapixels. And of course, you've got the faster A19 chip. All of this just makes last year's model a really tough sell in comparison. But you know what? Maybe the cleverest new feature, the one that got the biggest round of applause in the entire event, was all about the front camera.
Here's how it works, and it is brilliant. Instead of a normal rectangular sensor, the new one is square. So when you take a regular selfie, it just uses a vertical 18 megapixel crop of that sensor. But the second it detects more people in the shot, it automatically switches to a horizontal 18 megapixel crop. The result? You get this perfect wide-angle group shot without ever having to turn your phone sideways. So clever.
Okay, now for the Pro models. And according to the podcasters who were there, these things have a totally new philosophy. A much more, well, aggressive design.
Yeah, this quote just sums it up perfectly. Maximalist. The new iPhone 17 Pro is built around this aluminum unibody that just makes it feel tougher, more substantial. It's almost like it comes with a rugged case built right in.
So what else is new? Well, you've got that aluminum unibody, a first-ever vapor chamber for way better cooling when you're gaming, the more powerful A19 Pro chip, and some serious camera upgrades, including a new 4x telephoto lens and pro-level video features like ProRes RAW and Genlock Sync. But one of the most talked about things wasn't a feature, it was a color. There's no black or space gray option this year. Instead, Apple dropped this bright orange, and it totally split the room. The podcast hosts were completely divided, with half of them still not sure if they even liked it after seeing it in person.
But the biggest shock of the day, the real one more thing moment, was an entirely new phone, sitting right between the base model and the Pro, the iPhone Air.
And this phone is all about one number, 5.6 millimeters. It is just shockingly thin. It's one of those things you really have to hold to believe what a feat of engineering it is.
What? And it's a big but. Making something that thin comes with some major trade-offs. You do get the powerful A19 Pro chip and that beautiful ProMotion display. But here's what you lose. The ultra-wide and telephoto cameras are gone. You lose the bottom speaker, so it's mono sound, no fast USB 3 speeds, and you also lose that new vapor chamber cooling system from the Pros.
So, this brings us to the elephant in the room, battery life. And the hosts flagged this as a massive red flag. Apple actually designed a brand new, super thin MagSafe battery pack, specifically for the Air. You know when a company releases an accessory to fix a product's biggest flaw right at launch? It kind of tells you everything you need to know. They know the internal battery alone just isn't going to cut it.
This all led the hosts to a really interesting theory. What if all this crazy engineering to shrink down components isn't just about making a thin phone? What if this is basically a public R&D test for something else entirely, like, say, a future foldable iPhone?
And that's really the big question we're left with, isn't it? Is the iPhone Air just a one-off experiment, kind of like the iPhone Mini was, something that's destined to just fade away? Or is it like the very first MacBook Air, a glimpse into the future